Hello and welcome to our first official Over the Ropes video. I am your co-host Rob.
And I am Michelle.
And we are here with our WrestleMania 41 predictions. WrestleMania week is upon us. It's like a holiday. We're so excited to celebrate. So let's get to it. Match number 1, night 1. War Raiders versus New Day. I pick War Raiders.
I also pick War Raiders.
Right. I think War Raiders, and this might be wishful thinking, but I think Big E comes in and interferes, costing them the New Day the match. And Michelle, you thought maybe not so much with Big E coming back, right?
Right. I would love for that to happen, but I don't think there's been enough on TV that would show that that's the direction it's going. The only way I would change my mind on that would be if in the pre-show, Big E gives some more commentary throughout that show. But I think the New Day are establishing themselves as pretty bad dudes, and that's kind of where the story is going, and that this is a piece of that, but that the War Raiders will come out on top of that.
Admittedly, neither Michelle or I are super invested in this match. Kind of makes sense that it's on night 1. It'll probably be one of the first matches on night 1, to be honest. So, but War Raiders deserve their time to shine. They've worked really hard over many years and not really been given a lot of opportunities on the main roster in the previous era. So I think they're looking pretty strong these days. And also, I mean, hey, Valhalla could come back at any time with her antlers,
Man.
right?
Could you imagine?
That would be great.
And the other thing is they've talked on commentary a ton about injuries and overcoming things, and I think they've kind of put the War Raiders up on that pedestal of like they can kind of get through anything. So maybe they can get through this new evil version of the New Day.
Yeah, I think ultimately for this match to really be memorable for me, and I think for you too as well, is if Big E makes an appearance.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, if that happens, then this match automatically jumps up about 5 notches. So
yeah, absolutely.
They'll put on a good show, but man, if Big E came back and had some sort of hand in it, I think that would be ultimate like payday for that.
Yeah, I don't even care if he actually like gets to wrestle. It's just him coming back and like somehow interfering to be enough of a distraction that it just doesn't allow the New Day to move forward.
Right on.
So next we have Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. And I am feeling that Rey Mysterio will win this match.
I agree.
And I think that a part of this will be the unmasking of El Grande Americano, and that we will obviously find out that it's been Chad Gable all along.
Yeah, I think, again, not really super invested in this. Feels like this match might have been thrown together because they needed something to take the spot of what was going to be Randy Orton and KO. I think the payoff's going to be El Grande getting unmasked. That's really the only thing I care about in this match. Otherwise, I don't care. Right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a farce.
Yeah, it's something that, like, legitimately we've seen 100 times. Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable. Chad's just wearing a mask. So I mean, we can watch any episode of Raw or SmackDown and see this match. Honestly, it's a match I feel should be on Raw or SmackDown, but yeah,
that's all we have to say about that.
That's all we got to say about that.
So we have Jade versus Naomi, and my vote is that Jade is going to come out on top for this match. I think she's going to get her justice and final revenge on Naomi.
And I picked Naomi, and I have to prefix this because y'all don't know who I am. Or at least most of you don't. And so I have never actually been impressed with Naomi in ring. I don't like her moveset. Traditionally, like, her character has just been kind of cringy for me. I don't like the goody two-shoe, really super over the top. I don't know, just everything about the glow stuff just really drives me bonkers. And I also recognize that traditionally WWE Creative hates me in regards to Naomi. So I expect Naomi to win because we can't have a Mania full of good guys winning, and Naomi would be the bad guy that would win in this situation to ruin it for me. I do want to say that I want to give credit where credit's due. Naomi's heel work and promos have been way better than anything I've ever seen her do since she was a Funkadactyl. Seriously. Like, it goes all the way back to then. Like, her promos have traditionally not been great. This new version of her has been pretty intense. It's been entertaining. I found myself actually wanting to watch her segments, and I think that her move set is changing a little bit too to complement her heel status. Um, I want to see Jade absolutely obliterate the life out of Naomi in this match, but I also think that Naomi's going to come out on top for some reason. Yeah.
I also think that post-match, Bianca could make an appearance. If it doesn't happen right there at WrestleMania, I think that it would happen the next time on TV when Raw or SmackDown airs. And I feel that that's because it's kind of that loose end of the story where Jade hasn't really addressed the fully like the piece with Bianca, but she also hasn't come back and been like friends with her. So it kind of feels like that piece that needs to, I don't know, be completed for the story to kind of make sense. Otherwise, it just kind of hangs there like, okay, so you're mad at Naomi, but literally Bianca was a part of it too.
I think that if Bianca does make an appearance during WrestleMania in this match in any way, shape, or form, that also translates into how she performs in the triple threat on night 2.
That's a good point.
So, but yeah, if not WrestleMania night, definitely within the next show on TV after Mania. For real. I agree with you. All right, next on the docket for night 1 is LA Knight. Yeah. And Jacob Fatu. I've picked LA Knight to come out victorious on this match.
And so have I.
I think we both agree Jacob's getting pushed really super hard right now. And honestly, this is the first match I feel could go either way. I think Jacob Fatu loses because Solo interferes somehow and costs Jacob the match. I think the bigger story is Solo versus Jacob Fatu, maybe for like SummerSlam or something, building towards that.
Yeah. LA Knight hasn't had the title all that long, so I feel like they wouldn't take it from him quite now. Like, what do you do after that? However, they also, like you said, Rob, are pushing Jacob Fatu pretty hard, and it might be a nice way to continue some of that bloodline story. Like, you have Solo, who wasn't able to get a title at all while he was being his pseudo tribal chief thing, and then you had Jacob being like an absolute beast and just annihilating everyone. So, you've had Solo kind of being, I don't know, a little subservient in some ways to Jacob, but kind of costing him some stuff too. So, it might be one of those things where Solo tries to help, but actually makes it totally like a bust for Jacob Fatu.
I also want to point out something that's very unique about Jacob Fatu, and then some of the wrestlers today. And I'm not saying that LA Knight isn't this way, but there are certain wrestlers that historically have not needed a title to be a big deal. We get hyped over Jacob Fatu whenever he shows up. He doesn't have a title, and 90% of the time he's showing up to just mess somebody up anyways, right? So Jacob doesn't need the U.S. championship to legitimize that he's a power player. We already have seen moments where he's face-to-face with Bron Breakker and everybody loses their mind. We've seen him face-to-face with Roman, who doesn't have a title, and people are losing their mind. You can have so many dream matches with Jacob Fatu that doesn't revolve around a championship that gets you to the point where then Jacob is like this established person that if he doesn't get a title shot, like we riot like we did for Punk, 12 years ago and stuff like that. Undertaker's a great example of somebody that doesn't need to have a title to have a presence. That's the type of vibe that I get. LA Knight is certainly super entertaining, but make no mistake, he's building that U.S. championship up between him and Shinsuke. They've done a really great job as of late. That title lost a lot of luster while Logan Paul had it, not just because we don't like Logan Paul, but because Logan Paul was never around with it. You remembered it was a championship when LA Knight was showing up at Logan Paul's house being entertaining, right? So LA Knight having this title makes sense. To your point, he hasn't had it very long. He's been defending it on TV. It's been good. You can have a lot of other people come up and challenge for that title, and eventually, when you're ready to push LA Knight to the next level, you can have him drop that title to somebody else that can carry it like LA Knight has. But Jacob doesn't need to win this to be legitimate.
True.
And I think the storyline going forward calls for him to have bigger matches than matches for the U.S. Championship as of right now.
Good points.
Thanks.
Okay, so next we have Gunther versus Jay, and I predict that Jay will come out on top.
I as well predicted that Jay will come out on top.
I think we have this underdog story that's been developing for a long time, and at the same time you also have Jay really separating from his family, and I think this is the proving his worth in the family that he can actually be the main event guy and hold the big dog title. So I think this is our chance to really celebrate that. I don't think it has to be a super long reign, but I think he's going to get it. He's also lost a bunch of times to Gunther, so it kind of feels like it's his time to get the upper hand.
Yeah. I think Jay wins. I agree with you, Michelle. I think that there's this whole moving away from family thing, but Jimmy's kind of been alongside him the whole time, and Jimmy was taken out a couple weeks ago now. So I think that Jimmy comes back to help him. I think what that does is it allows Jay to win, allows Gunther to still look strong, but also for Jimmy Uso, or for Jay rather, it means that yeah, he's the champ, but there's still a little bit of doubt as to if he really deserves it or not. I don't think it's going to get back to a Jay Jimmy match like we had last WrestleMania. That was pretty terrible, to be honest.
No, that was
that was a pretty rough match. But yeah, I think Jimmy comes back and helps Jay win. If there's another family member that would help come back, there are two other ones that I can think of. One is Rikishi, their dad. The other is The Rock, because Jay's been using some of The Rock's moves since he left Roman Reigns' bloodline,
Jay also came out with Travis Scott.
Yes. Oh, man, we have a whole other video to make about this stuff.
I mean, yeah, but that's true for almost all of this.
True that. Next, we have Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship. I just want to preface this by saying if Michelle had her way, both of these ladies, these competitors, would accidentally trip on the way to the ring and fall inside a dumpster that is on fire. Michelle is not a fan of Tiffany Stratton or Charlotte Flair for a million reasons. Even when I asked her which one are you going to pick, she said, it's 50-50. I really can't pick. So why are you making me pick? If someone could just return and just be a third person in the match, that person would be the one she picked. But that being said, I picked Tiffany Stratton to be the victor in this one.
And I also reluctantly picked Tiffany.
Right. So, for me, Tiffany wins. I feel like now I had a dream last night, and this is going to sound lame, but it is what it is. Bo Dallas, there was a big promo thing on this big, huge screen at some arena that I was at, and I saw a clip of a silhouette of Uncle Howdy, and then it was during a Charlotte Flair thing, and then Bo Dallas said, Charlotte is the queen of nothing, and then he also said for me to talk to my wife about ideas because she's smart, which she is. So Bo Dallas is smart even in my dreams. I think if you have a return here, to make the match swing in one direction or the other. Alexa Bliss comes back, and this is like redemption for Charlotte Flair destroying Lily when they had their match for the title a couple years ago. But that's my dream thing. I do think Tiffany comes out on top, no matter what. I'm hoping that Alexa Bliss comes back and helps that.
Yeah. So I guess, okay, I really 100% dislike Tiffany Stratton. I can't even stand the sound of her voice. I hate the gimmick. I hate the narcissism, like all of that. But and before the last few promos where Charlotte really just like threw her under the bus and was so unprofessional, I probably would have thought that Charlotte would win, only because I think that they're working to have her have enough titles that she either ties or beats her dad's legacy of title runs. I think they're going to end up giving that to her over time, but I think with her being so unprofessional and Tiffany kind of being pushed the way she has since she first got on the main roster, I think this is a little bit more punishment to Charlotte, where she's not going to get the title quite yet to get to the point of having as many as her dad. And in that vein, to save face for Tiffany, who they are promoting so hard, she's going to get the win over Charlotte.
All right, we're up to the main event of night one. Roman, Punk, and Seth Rollins, also jokingly known as the custody of Paul Heyman match. I pick Seth Rollins to be the victor in this, even though I'm a humongous Punk fan, and I would prefer it be Punk, and then if not Punk, then Roman, and then if not Punk or Roman, because something terrible happened, then Rollins wins by default. But I think Rollins wins.
Okay. I also picked Seth Rollins, and I think this is because he's played enough mind games that like Roman is going to be so distracted by Heyman being in Punk's corner that he's going to be focusing so much on Punk, and then Punk will be trying to defend so much against Roman that it gives Seth Rollins the opportunity to kind of take advantage of either of the other two. But I do not believe that like Heyman will betray anybody or go on Seth's side or anything like that. I think I kind of almost am seeing um, Paul Heyman as like the baby face in this situation, weirdly enough. So I don't think he will turn on anybody.
And I think that Heyman does betray Punk and Roman and goes with Seth Rollins. That's the only difference in why we picked who we picked. I think Michelle makes some really great points. I think the conversation that Heyman and Rollins had was one where Rollins was sharing with Heyman, like, this is an abusive relationship. See how you're used. See how you're a pawn. See how they don't actually care about you. And then, like, Rollins' point at the end where he went to, quote, stomp Heyman, but then stopped short and said, now you owe me a favor, is kind of a dig at Punk and Roman, saying, like, see, like, I didn't hurt you, so then I guess you better do something nice for me because I didn't hurt you. I think to Michelle's point, though, Punk hasn't always been someone who's just used Paul Heyman as a shield or as a way to get somewhere. Because when we're post WrestleMania and Heyman was in the ring and he was scared about Solo coming out to hurt him, Punk was the one that defended him in that moment, and it wasn't Roman. So I think Michelle holds a bigger case. I think I'm still on the Rollins gets custody of Paul Heyman in this one.
You mean Roman and Punk won't keep co-parenting abusively?
Yeah, no, it won't happen. It won't happen. So I guess that's where we're at with that. So that would be concluding night one.
So night two, we have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I predict that AJ will come out on top.
Me too.
You sound so reluctant. This is not an exciting match. Like, we actually both really dislike Logan Paul and feel like it's a waste of space to give him any airtime whatsoever. But I also think it's like one of those teach a lesson moments because Logan Paul is just such a jerk. And AJ just got back. He's kind of trying to reestablish himself. He's been kind of I don't know, just had some tough conversations backstage, and it's kind of like, what does that all look like? Carrying Cross, which we will do a whole other video on all of our theories about what's been going on there and his impact on wrestling altogether. But I think he's been in AJ's ear, and like AJ has this need to kind of prove himself, and after coming back from this pretty massive injury and having this kind of like second chance to even be wrestling at all, like that he's going to get the win.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, we could say this WrestleMania was brought to you by Karrion Kross.
Totally.
Because
I'm so excited to do that video.
Yeah, the only person not on the card that Karrion Kross has had interaction with since he came back, that he's taken something from or whatever, is Shinsuke. And who's to say Shinsuke doesn't show up and cost LA Knight the title, right? So, that being said, thank you, Karrion Kross, for putting things in motion so we can have great storylines going to WrestleMania 41. That'll be a video coming later. I appreciate Logan Paul's athleticism. I appreciate that when he's in the ring, he's a safe worker and that he seems to have a really good grasp. It's obviously he works hard at what he does, but man, he is so good at getting heat. Like, I like his theme song. I hate his face. I guess it's like, and to go along with what Michelle's saying too, like AJ just came back from an injury that could have taken him out of wrestling forever. And AJ's not a spring chicken anymore. I mean, he's got the soccer mom haircut to prove it. And much like we're both heart sick over the fact that KO has to like bow out of Mania and miss over a year to get neck surgery, which he might not even be able to come back from, and that really hurts our hearts because KO, good guy, bad guy, is always entertaining and is always putting in work. Like, really appreciate that guy. AJ Styles needs something big as he begins his final run, I guess. And I think working with Logan Paul, who can work a good match and be exciting and entertaining and athletic and push AJ Styles, but have AJ Styles come out on top, I think really kind of drives that point home. Also, I just want to recognize it's another good guy we're cheering for.
I'm not even thinking about that really as I'm going through. It's really just, for me, storyline driven. I am so much about storyline.
Yeah, I know it. Next up, night 2, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I am picking Drew to take the win on this one.
And I have chosen Damian Priest.
And so I am choosing Drew McIntyre, not because I'm the biggest Drew McIntyre fan.
He actually doesn't like him at all.
Yeah, I had a dream that he tried to take my wife, and I wasn't cool with it. And it's one of those ones you wake up from and you're like, that was real life, even though it wasn't. And also went to house show and he ripped off his kilt, and I swear to God, he looked at my wife and winked. But maybe
he didn't.
He basically did. Basically did. Anyways, Drew's been on a tear. He needs a win. He needs to, quote, exorcise the demon, being Damian Priest. I think this is McIntyre's time to get a win at WrestleMania without being a total spaz and costing him anything else. Drew's just been on fire, man. Like the last year, his promos, his heel work, all that stuff. Thanks to Karrion Kross. Again, another reference. But I think Drew takes the win here. And Damian works to come back from that.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum where I'm thinking about Damian Priest is newer to SmackDown. He's kind of getting there and not really having any friends, kind of establishing like who he is and people kind of coming up to him and everything. And then he gets bombarded with Drew McIntyre's absolute insanity of blame shifting completely and taking no accountability for any of his actions, all the way back to Damian cashing in for Money in the Bank. What did we see? We saw Drew win and get the title and then gloat and not pay attention. And if you know that the Money in the Bank contract is out there, there's no excuse to not be aware of that and be protective if you are a title holder. So, those kinds of things. I mean, he's blamed Priest for like a year's worth of stuff, and none of it is Drew taking accountability or making changes that, don't allow other people to have influence and control over your situation. And so that's why I feel that this is kind of like Damien's time to be like, no, you're wrong. Sit down. Next, we have a tag team match of Liv and Raquel versus Bayley and Lyra. And my prediction is that Liv and Raquel retain the titles.
Same.
My thinking behind this is that Bayley is going to turn on Lyra, and that this is based on the match that she had for the title where Lyra retained the title. And Bayley was not very happy about that and then kind of had this tiny change of heart, but that didn't feel super authentic. I think this could be the start of a possible heel turn for Bayley, and that Liv and Raquel will end up retaining because of that betrayal.
Yeah, I see it the same way. I think maybe the turn comes after the match where Bayley's ticked off that she didn't win Intercontinental Championship and then she didn't win the Tag Team Championship with Lyra. So then she takes it out on Lyra because she already doesn't like her, but she was playing nice to be in the Tag Team Gauntlet match to try to win, to try to get to WrestleMania. So I think you're right there.
And I think the nice thing too is that losing this doesn't make Lyra look weak. Especially if like Bayley was the one to get pinned or something like that.
We're big Lyra Valkyria fans in this house.
And I am definitely not a Bayley fan.
Yeah, she's in the same boat as Charlotte and Tiffany, but for different reasons.
Yeah, very different. I wouldn't say the same boat, but maybe the same ocean.
Same ocean. There you go.
We have a four-way match, a fatal four-way of Bron Breakker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. I am actually really hoping that Penta wins this. And
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I expect Braun to be the victor of this one.
So part of my thinking is that this is a setup that could promote Penta, where Braun doesn't lose face because of the nature of the match, and that there's so many contestants. And also that Braun wouldn't get pinned, so he's not losing the title because he actually lost it. Also, I think that Dom and Finn will end up somehow fighting each other in some way, or like making each other lose. Like there's been that kind of bad vibe between them for so long, and we have some really amazing theories about that faction altogether and maybe what the makeup is, and that there's like a lot of little double heel pieces or something. I don't even know how to describe it, but we'll have to do that in a separate video. But I think that some of this is going to play out, and so it's almost like they're not really truly going to be contestants in it, except to make it easy for Penta to win.
And so I view it as it's a creative way to have two matches in one match. So you have Braun versus Penta that didn't get a fair finish because of Judgment Day. And then you have Dom and Finn in there where all that tension's been building, like Michelle said. So I feel like Dom and Finn end up fighting each other because Finn keeps being selfish. It leads to Finn getting kicked out of the Judgment Day, which leaves it down to Braun versus Penta. I think even though Penta is hot and we love Penta, our grandson loves Penta, and he's almost 3 years old, and all he knows is that when Penta comes out, it's time to go crazy, and it's the cutest thing ever. I feel like Braun retains through this to look even stronger. Again, Penta's one of those people that like you can get hyped to watch and doesn't really need a title right now. And he just got here, so I think rushing it on him that quick, even though WWE's traditionally done stuff like that in the past.
That might also be a little bit of my wish is for Penta
Yeah.
to have it because I'm not a super big Bron Breakker fan. Like I know that he's very athletic and he does amazing things and his promos are great and everything, but I don't like the locker room gimmick of like barking dog thing and like just that like super extra tough guy thing. Like it just rubs me so the wrong way. But that's a personal thing.
And so, side note, Finn does have a chance to win, and that's because that would only be if his only friend in the whole world, who's holding his spot at the Judgment Day, and who trained him personally, comes back in JD McDonough. And JD's pretty close to coming back from what we've heard. So Finn wins if JD comes back and helps him over Dom and everybody else. I think when JD comes back, he gets a pop though, because that dude got mad respect.
Oh my god, I can't. I think the only reason he survived is that his head is so large.
Ha! Wow. All right. All right, next up, triple threat for the women's championship: Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. I choose Rhea partially because I just want her to win, but also because I think that she will win.
I am reluctantly choosing Io, and she is my least favorite person in this match. But and my true love in this match is Rhea, and I wish that I could have just said Rhea. But my my thought process behind picking Io is that there has been a lot of disrespect of Io kind of like getting shoved around when the three of them are in the ring, and she kind of just hasn't had opportunity much to defend the title. So it's been this thing where it's like she's kind of being shoved to the side and she's the actual champion. So it feels a little bit like storyline wise, it would make sense for her to kind of come out on top to be like, this is why I have the title right now, you guys. And I also think what that creates is a situation for Rhea and Bianca to have an epic battle between them. Maybe that culminates at, I don't know, SummerSlam or something like that. Like that it could be some long term story between them of just absolute viciousness. And they both are so strong that it could be pretty cool to watch them really go at it like that. Because they're going to be so mad at each other for not being on top with the title in hand.
And I agree with all that. I think Rhea wins. I think Bianca will look strong in the match as she always does. But just because it's WrestleMania doesn't mean Bianca wins the title. Sorry, folks. I think Rhea wins with distractions from Jade or Alexa Bliss. Now, we talked about Jade when we talked about the Jade and Naomi match and Bianca kind of being involved potentially either at Mania or the show after. So that hanging over there has a lot of weight, I think. Alexa Bliss also potentially comes up in this one because Alexa was feuding with Bianca when Uncle Howdy was coming back and trying to antagonize Alexa Bliss, and there was that power struggle between the two, and then Alexa left. Bray Wyatt passed. Uncle Howdy was out. All that stuff, and then we had the Wyatt Six come back, and then now we got Alexa, right? So there was a feud with Bianca and Alexa going on. Also, too, if you go back to Elimination Chamber, Alexa's in her pod, and Bianca's in her pod, and Naomi comes in, and Jade comes in and absolutely demolishes Naomi, and Bianca's losing her mind in her pod and can't get out. And if you look at Alexa's face, she is like saddened and like kind of like what's going on, like they're losing, like they've lost their way. And the Wyatt Six is all about like finding your way. And if Alexa Bliss is really going to be put in a program with the Wyatt Six and you're going to have a jumping off point, this could be part of that, where it loops back. I think it loops in more with the Bianca piece, because if you cost her a title match and everything like that, then maybe that's kind of like how you get your redemption for having lost when you were competing against her before and stuff like that. I'm not sure, but also you could run the narrative that Bianca used Jade to get tag team gold and then used Naomi when Jade went out. And also maybe Alexa Bliss has knowledge that Bianca was also involved as well.
I just thought of something as you were talking
Okay.
that I hadn't thought of before. If Naomi does lose her match against Jade,
Mhm.
it would make sense for her to interfere in some way in this match to get vengeance on Bianca.
Mm.
Some of her promos have specifically been about Bianca and how she's like ungrateful. So
Mhm.
it could be like, you should be my friend, you're not, and I don't have any control over that, so I'll take your opportunity for the title.
Mm.
And because of it being a triple threat, it would make sense that there could be people interfering.
Yeah, and the
So that
nice
might
thing,
be another reason why Bianca would lose.
yeah, the nice thing is this is on night 2. So,
Hmm.
and Naomi and Jade are night 1. So things can happen on night 1 that affect night 2. We even saw that last year when it was the Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth in the tag match. And then Seth had to defend his title the next night to Drew and lost. Um, and that all carried over. So you might see some stuff happening on Saturday that then directly affects the outcome of something on Sunday. So I guess that's what
Very
we're kind of
true.
getting at, right?
Absolutely.
Right on. All right, and now the main event of night 2, the big match, Cody Rhodes and John Cena. I'm picking Cena for the dub in this one.
I am also picking John Cena as my predicted winner. Um, I think that Cena will get help from The Rock and that will turn some of the tide in the match, allowing him to get victory. I'm not happy about it, really, but I think that's what's going to happen.
So I've had some crazy ideas about this that I've just shared relentlessly with Michelle. Cena's talking about how he's going to take the title and leave, and that like he'd be the last real champion. And he's doing all this bad guy stuff, this heel stuff, and he's yelling at Cody Rhodes and all this other stuff. And Cody's like, "Well, you want everybody to look like you." And I've never heard John Cena say that, right? But also too, leading up to WrestleMania last year, we saw a lot of The Rock standing alongside Roman Reigns, and I was just thinking about this tonight. But The Rock's been nowhere. It was show up at Elimination Chamber, give me your soul, no thank you. John Cena kicks you in the balls, everybody beats you up, and John Cena standing alongside The Rock, and then The Rock has just been gone. He hasn't been back, right? So like, how is he aligning with John Cena? How is he showing his solidarity with John Cena? If John Cena is going to be The Rock's champion, right? Now, we need to remember all the stories about how The Rock shared, hey, our moms were hanging out right after WrestleMania. We shared a drink, the watches, all the stuff. Cody Rhodes getting his flowers. Thanks for being our champion. Netflix premiere. All this stuff that we're kind of ticked off about. And then The Rock was talking about how I'm always 20 steps ahead. I think The Rock comes in. The Rock helps Cena because he believes, since he hasn't been around, that Cena is in it to take the title from Cody and be the Rock's champion. However, Cena and The Rock are 1-1 in their all-time WrestleMania matches, right? And Cena doesn't need to, quote, give Rock his soul. Cena has the movie deals. He's got all the stuff. He doesn't need any of that. And if Cena's protecting his legacy, why would he want to take the title home and not let anybody else have it? Because if Cody Rhodes keeps it, And Cody Rhodes is like really The Rock's champion at heart, and Cena has beef with The Rock, then I feel like Cena has been doing this heel work because he's a good actor, to convince The Rock that he'll be his guy. So Rock comes in, Rock helps Cena, Cena turns on The Rock, and then Cody beats up Cena and then stands in solidarity with The Rock. And then while I was sharing this with Michelle tonight in preparation for this video, the other thing I thought of is The Rock's on the board. There's a big talk about him being the final boss. We've seen Vince McMahon do this stuff. We've seen commissioners and general managers do this stuff, abuse of power. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for John Cena to tie Ric Flair and then have The Rock say, "Oh, you turned on me? We're going to restart the match and it's no disqualification." And The Rock and Cena and probably Travis Scott, I'm sorry, The Rock and Cody Rhodes and probably Travis Scott beat down Cena, and then Cody pins him and takes the title back. Or something like that. So you end up having a double turn, kind of like after things have already happened. But also, too, I've had this theory that Cody Rhodes is going to side with The Rock and become the corporate nightmare.
Something that backs that up is, to a degree, Cody kind of being like, well, I can't sell my soul. I've already sold my soul. And it's like, when did that happen? And I know he says, oh, my soul belongs to like all the fans and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's super corny. That's not like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So it kind of lends itself to what you're saying.
Yeah. So those are our predictions. What do you think? Throw it down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there anybody you think might be coming back that we didn't talk about? Is there other ideas that you might have? Like, leave it in the comments. Let's hear them. It's WrestleMania week. We're excited for it. We're here for it. So like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and comment and enjoy the week. Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. It's the go home show for Mania, so it should be pretty good, and hopefully not as many commercials as what we've been seeing.
Oh, there will be
commercials. Right on. Anything else you'd like to add, my love?
Oh, no, just thanks for watching.
And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.